Was 2025 the worst year for graphic design in recent memory? Because it feels like every time I refreshed my feed this past year, another legacy brand was stripping away its soul in the name of simplicity. We've seen the giants of this industry play it so safe that they ended up being completely invisible. Today, we're digging into the wreckage. We're talking about the rebrands that felt like a gentle massage instead of a transformation. We're gonna look at the logo change that was reversed in a matter of days, and we're gonna look at the media network that somehow managed to erase its own credibility with a new name. But it's not all doom and gloom, right? Because in the middle of this graveyard of bad ideas, one heritage company actually showed us how to evolve without losing your mind. But before we get into it, I'm Ziggy the Designer. I'm a graphic designer who's worked alongside some of the world's most recognizable brands, including United Airlines, Target, and Stanford University. If you like the conversations we're having on this channel, be sure to support the show by giving this episode a like, leaving a comment down below, and of course, by subscribing. Let's get into it. Design is all around us, so let's talk about it. Let's start with the one that felt like a fever dream. This is the Cracker Barrel logo. So Cracker Barrel decided to ditch their old-timer logo, you know, the iconic illustration of the man leaning on the barrel. They ditched that for a text-only, almost hyper-minimalistic mark, and this was a total erasure of the brand's foundation. The internet did what the internet does, and they roasted it so hard and so fast that the company hit the undo button in just a few days. This is what happens when you treat your brand like it's expendable decor, right? You can't just nuke decades of brand recognition and expect people to stay loyal. It felt cheap. It felt unorganized, and it felt completely disconnected from the people who actually spend money there. This logo, this new rebrand, deserved to have the plug pulled. Next up is Walmart. In early 2025, they rolled out a rebrand handled by Landor and Jones Knowles Ritchie, otherwise known as JKR. Now look, right, I understand the corporate logic here. They wanted to tie the brand back to the old Sam Walton days through a custom typeface and make it feel a little bit more human. But when we talk about a brand with the scale of Walmart, a gentle typography massage doesn't move the needle. The average shopper didn't even notice the change. So, when you have the creative power of Landor and JKR in the room and you walk away with, a softened font and layouts that feel like maintenance work rather than a new chapter, it's a letdown, right? Let's call it what it is. It's a letdown, but more importantly, it's an absolute waste of the talent that Landor and JKR has to offer. Then there's the MSNBC rebrand. They dropped the NBC from their name and killed the iconic peacock logo to become MS Now. And business-wise, yes, I get it, right? There was a big shift in the business at NBC Universal. MSNBC is no longer part of that branch of the company. It makes sense why the name change had to happen. But looking at the name, right, they claim that MS stands for my source. But honestly, MS carries unintended connotations that only compound the disconnect that this rebrand has. MS means a lot of different things. It could mean Microsoft. It could mean multiple sclerosis for all I care. And again, I get it. But if you're going to change the name, you have to go all in. Rebranding isn't a, dip your toes in type of game. We saw that with Walmart. If you're going to do it, you've got to commit. There's no point in trying to force MS into this new brand. And we can see that it just didn't work. Design-wise, you lose me even more. We've got this geometric tri-shaped symbol next to a bold sans serif word mark. It's nothing we haven't seen before. And then for some reason, they spell out the entire my source, MS Now acronym underneath in a clashing serif font. It feels like a rough draft, right? They killed decades of editorial trust for a logo that looks like it belongs on a discount computer from 1998. It's a major loss of credibility that makes a serious news network look like a left-wing tabloid. But okay, look, I've been pretty negative here. Let's talk about the sliver of light in all of the darkness that was 2025. Let's talk about Lazy Boy. I absolutely loved this rebrand. Right, working with Cole McVoy, Lazy Boy pulled off a real, unapologetic rebrand. They didn't just pray nobody would notice that they changed, something small with the typography like with Walmart. They actually shifted how the brand shows up in the real world. The new logo uses beautiful, flowy typography that feels premium without being stuffy. They took a company associated with their grandparents' basement and turned it into a modern lifestyle brand. They respected their brand DNA, even referencing a vintage logo, all while future-proofing their identity. This is what a winning brand looks like in 2025. And I'm not the only one who loves this. Ad Age put this in their top 5 rebrands of 2025 list, and they are 100% deserving of it. So look, I've been designing for about 12 years now, 6 years professionally. 2025 was, just an absolute letdown of a year for graphic design. This was a year where design often felt like it was being replaced by business logic. We saw too many brands trying to look like every other tech startup instead of leaning into what makes them unique. When you're too worried about alienating people, you end up boring them. Personality is what builds culture. It's what builds brands. And 2025 was a year that a lot of brands decided to lose the plot. What I'm hoping for in 2026 is honestly a correction, right? The return of shape, the return of variation in typeface use, and the return of personality in design. But what do you think? Was 2025 a total wash for the industry, or did I miss a rebrand that you actually liked? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below, hit that like button, and of course, subscribe. Let's keep this conversation going. I've been Ziggy the Designer. If there are 2 things you need to know about me, it's that 1, I love graphic design, and 2, I'm very opinionated. I'll talk with y'all later. Bye-bye.